Welcome back to Under Review. Little change of scenery today.
You can tell.
We are not at the 143.
No, we're at the 701 for the summer. For these next 3 or so months, you will be seeing this amazing room that we have set up for y'all. It's my room.
This
actually.
Is Under Review HQ 2. So
that's right. This is our Argyle, Texas headquarters. So this is where we do our shows when we're up in North Texas.
We've relocated. For summer break
for a little bit.
But that doesn't mean that we're changing in any way. The only thing that changed was our location.
The same content.
We are still sports experts.
We'll come at you weekly.
And people have asked us, why aren't y'all just taking a break for the summer? And we say taking breaks is for losers, and we're winners.
That's right.
And we don't take breaks. If you don't win the last game of the season, no one cares.
Nobody cares. Bombo facts.
That applies to everything.
That applies to everything, even life.
Anything in life,
even if it's not
sure.
Sports related, it still applies.
I was thinking about that yesterday. I was thinking, like, man, it's crazy how that one quote applies to literally everything. Like, if you don't finish strong, it doesn't matter.
If you let it.
Like, if you think about it, I know we have to get into our content, obviously, but if you think about it.
This is the content.
Marriage, if you don't finish strong.
Nobody cares.
Nobody cares.
Because you didn't win the last game of the season.
Exactly. Or your job, if you like...
You get fired?
Well, not if you get fired, but if you end up doing like bad and then getting fired because of that, nobody cares about what you did before. It's not about what you've done in the past, it's what you can do in the future. All right, we're not at the end of the show giving out inspirational quotes yet, so I'll hold off on mine. But let's just kick it off. Let's kick it off this week. We've gotten some interesante, that's Spanish for interesting, news, some beef in the SEC.
I'm sure most everyone has seen it by now, but we'll break it down a little bit for everyone.
We will give y'all what you should be thinking about it. And so I'll start it off with the stat of the week. Our stat of the week is brought to you by the Jarvis family / Andrews Logistics, who is the reason that we are recording in Argyle right now. And they've done a lot for us. We want to give them a big shout out. Obviously, Mariella is one of the sponsors we've used before. She is here as well, and we just want to say thank you to them for everything they've done, continuing to be big sponsors for us. So the stat of the week: Jimbo Fisher, head coach at Texas A&M University for their football team, in his career as a head coach at major schools. So he's coached for 12 years. His career is 117 wins to 37 losses. Pretty remarkable. Obviously, a very much winning record, 76% winning record.
Includes a natty.
One national championship. Going to make it 2 at some point for A&M.
Within the next 4 years.
Within the next 4 years.
Actually, within the next 3. Because that's when we'll
I say 2. I say next year is our year.
We'll just say this upcoming year.
That's the expectation. But that is our stat of the week, brought to you by Jarvis family / Andrews Logistics.
So obviously, keeping on topic of Jimbo Fisher, I'm changing player of the week for the week to coach of the week, and it is
interesting.
Jimbo Fisher.
Switch it up.
Obviously. I mean, this just can go back to the stat that Joseph brought up, his insane record. Also, he made A&M the top recruiting class this year, so that was
that's true.
Pretty insane.
It's the first time
he has gotten a lot of talent out here, so thank you very much, Bombo Preach,
Jimbo. But I feel like that's also the first time that's ever happened. A&M leading the recruiting class.
I
think I agree. I mean, I'm not completely 100% on that, but I can't remember another time we've led in recruiting. But the recruiting is actually what our topic is about today.
What has brought up all this tension?
So, basically, Jimbo Fisher and Nick Saban are going at it. Jimbo Fisher, for those of you that don't know, used to work under Nick Saban at LSU back in 2004, something like that. But
so he's very close.
They were friends.
Knows a lot about Saban, obviously, because he worked with him. And yes, like Joseph said, they were friends. And so, like, anyone that coaches for him, it's like remarkable when they come back and coach another team and beat him, which Jimbo did last year.
Jimbo was the first former assistant coach of Nick Saban to beat him. We were at that game, and
remarkable.
It was live. Let us just say that. It was pretty crazy. Best sporting experience of my life so far. Mm-hmm. But basically, Nick Saban, he has been known to pout when he loses certain things. And so he finally lost the top recruiting class to A&M this year. And when asked about it at a meeting, he said A&M basically bought its players, and it's hard to compete with someone that's buying all their players.
Talking about like the NIL deals, but
name, image, and likeness. Yeah. We won't go into a ton of NIL stuff. Well, we might go into a little bit, but basically NIL is name, image, and likeness, a law that was passed by the Supreme Court.
It's a way for the players to make money, because obviously that's been a big complaint for a while, is that the players don't get paid, but they should get paid. And so this allows them to get paid, so it keeps both parties happy, because it's not like a oh man, what's the word? Like a weekly salary. It's not like that, you know.
It's lump just sums of money.
Yeah,
but it's not from the school. So that's the thing. It's
like when they get like sponsors and stuff like that.
They can have sponsors. Agencies can pay them, stuff like that. Anyways, so Nick Saban was saying that A&M bought its players using that, and he says like it's hard to compete with someone that's buying all their players. So Jimbo Fisher came out the next day, was asked about those comments, and Jimbo basically said, to give it a brief rundown. Jimbo said, number one, A&M didn't buy off any of its players. Number two, he said Saban's been doing that for a long time.
Yeah, exactly. That's why they've been at the top for as long as they have been, because that's what he's been doing for like ever.
And then we'll break this down in a second, but we're just giving the general overview right now. And then basically he said, I used to work for Saban. This is why I don't work for Saban anymore. Y'all wonder why I left Nick Saban to go to Florida State. This is a big reason why, and a reason I'll never work with him again. And as of right now, him and Saban still haven't talked. Saban's tried to reach out and apologize. Jimbo's having none of it. Jimbo is very mad with these comments, and he basically just attacked Nick Saban, said he was a narcissist, egomaniac, and a baby. And just actually, all these things, when
he doesn't get his way, and like when he's not at the top, and when he's not winning, and all that stuff. Which
they're all true.
It's true.
Yeah, there's no argument here about any of those. I guess let's just start it off by Nick. Why don't you give us your opinion on all of this?
Well, I obviously think Jimbo was right in coming out and absolutely bashing Nick Saban for that. Like, he was just talking about how it's amazing that you have to defend kids, like 17, 18-year-old kids, because they're choosing to go to A&M. And obviously, the biggest thing was he was talking about how self-centered and selfish Nick Saban is being, because he's not getting his way, when in reality, it's up to the players, right? Like, they ultimately get to choose where they want to go. I mean, so I don't think that Jimbo did anything wrong. Obviously, I believe that every single statement that he made was justified and true, and so I support him 1,000%.
As a coach, you always have to back your players, unless obviously they do something like blatantly wrong. Jimbo is not going to let another coach take a shot at him like that. Now, I will say
his players,
right, or his school, or anything like that. I mean, that's his job, is to protect A&M. So, what I will say though, normally Saban gets away with making these comments about people and everything, and they just let him. This has been kind of the first time a head coach is kind of like
called him out,
and then not only that, but not taking his calls, because everyone takes Saban's calls. This is what I was hearing today. Is it's not the fact that he said all those things publicly, but the fact that he's not taking Nick Saban's private call.
Wouldn't let him apologize.
He's not. Yeah. Well, he's like, don't talk to me. You can't come out and say this and then try to apologize afterwards.
Because he found out that he was wrong. Because like that's what it was. That's why he's trying to apologize. Is he's trying to save face, because he figured out
I can't say this.
He was wrong.
Publicly.
Yeah.
But he did, and so I think here's the deal with college football. Even before the NIL was legal, this is how big schools have been getting their kids to come play. There's always incentives. There's always been under the table incentives, and Nick Saban is the king of that.
Yeah, he
You
was
don't
doing
build
this
a
stuff
successful
before it was like actually before you were legally able to do that.
I would say 60%, 70% of a head coach in college's job is recruiting. And your success ultimately comes a lot from your recruiting. Saban's a king at recruiting. Nobody's disputing that. But you're not successful at getting kids to come to your school unless you have incentives for them. And it's not just because Nick's a good coach. It's a lot of it's incentives. But Jimbo did that too. And now with the NIL, it's legal to provide incentives. But before that, it really was frowned upon. Mm-hmm. And so now...
the NIL just kind of made it to where it was less under the table, less like
because it was happening
secretive
in
and like where you wouldn't have to lie and all that stuff. Now it's like you can actually, it's like I guess over the table now if you want to say that.
And so this is how Nick Saban has a disadvantage with the NIL being legal. So now Nick Saban was good at getting away with stuff before it was legal.
Now everybody can do it.
Now everybody can do it.
NIL is a thing.
And the people that benefit the most are the people with the most money. And this is what I was listening to today. USC is in LA. USC is banking right now off the NIL because it's such a rich city. It's in such a rich city. A lot of these SEC schools are not in rich places. Alabama's not a rich place, like Tuscaloosa, Alabama. That doesn't have a lot of money. So they can't offer as much as like a school like USC can. Texas A&M and Texas are both benefiting from the NIL because Texas is a richer state in general than Alabama, than Mississippi. So A&M's benefiting a lot from the NIL just with the ability to have more money to give. Again, it's not A&M giving it. It's very complicated. It's not A&M giving it. It's their boosters who give it. It's different agencies that give it that kids sign with and stuff like that. But Nick Saban is at a disadvantage now for the first time in his life.
Because before it was just about like
who can get away
literally
with it.
Alone, like your ability to talk players basically into coming, and then obviously could you get away with all that stuff that you were doing under the table. But this NIL has changed the game, and that's why I think low-key in 20 years maybe, like Alabama's not going to be as like dominant as they have been or as they are because they're, because obviously they've already lost their recruiting place, right? They've been number one for
years.
Yeah, I don't even know how long. And now they're A&M is number one, and they were number two. And so, I mean, Alabama, if you ask me, is already on the downfall. And I think later down the road, we're going to see them not be as dominant as they used to be because everyone else has the same advantages now.
I think it'll get interesting because you'll see schools that aren't normally good getting better just because they're getting more recruits, better players. So, like, a lot of kids aren't going to want to go to a school that's a good school. They're going to want to go to a place that can give them the most money because that's just the truth about what happens. So you may start to see some recruiting things swing. Back to Jimbo's comments though, Nick Saban has always been revered as the best college football head coach of all time. And obviously his record speaks for itself. I have never liked Nick Saban for the reason that he is a baby every time he loses anything. And that's just getting brought to light now, and more people can see it now based on this. But when he lost the national championship last year, he came out and started talking about how his receiver had gotten hurt. And, before when they lost to A&M, it was because I forgot what he blamed it on then. But they lost to A&M last season, obviously to Jimbo. Funny story about that was before the season started, Jimbo said they were going to beat Alabama. And whenever a reporter told Nick Saban that Jimbo said he was going to beat him, he said, "What are they going to beat me at? Golf?" And then we came out and whooped him and beat him at football. And now he can go play golf.
Yeah.
And retire.
Speaking of that, I've heard people saying that like Nick Saban said it on purpose because they wanted to like make ticket prices more expensive so that now the game sells out next season.
Yeah, college football just became a big headliner because of that.
When A&M goes to Alabama, plays Alabama, because like now all the seats are going to be full because, Jimbo's coming to shut Nick Saban down for talking about his players at the beginning of the season, But like, I mean, I I don't know if I believe that 100%.
I don't believe it at all.
I feel like maybe like an ounce of his motivation was that, but I also do think it was partially him being mad and being a crybaby about how he did not have the top recruiting class this year.
I agree. Nick Saban and Jimbo Fisher have never been ones to try to like increase drama for ratings. Like they care a lot about winning. They have a lot of pride in themselves and in their schools, and they've just always been like that. So I think this is for real. I think this is like something. I know Jimbo was mad for real. Saban though was trying to get money for his school. That he said it at it was a booster meeting or like a banquet or something. There were a lot of rich people there. He was trying to get money, get them to basically, not him personally, but the organization was trying to get them to give money to Alabama football. And because that's Alabama's biggest moneymaker, and A&M's too.
Because what else is Alabama good at? Like
nothing. And so he said that to try to defend Alabama, like, hey, we're still doing good. A&M only beat us in the recruiting class because they bought other players. And so he just wasn't thinking. He got comfortable because he's with Nick Saban, always gets what Nick Saban wants. And he was with a lot of people that give him what he wants all the time. He can say whatever. They're like his yes people who just tell him, yes, Nick Saban. And so obviously he was very comfortable. He said these comments. And then his agent or someone at the school said, dude, you got to come out and publicly apologize and try to get some of the heat off you. You can't say that. So he publicly apologized, which Will Smith slapped Chris Rock and came out and publicly apologized
Those
later.
Public apologies are always just bogus. They have no
real.
Meaning. They just holes in them everywhere. Face. Yeah, it's just like, it doesn't even make sense. I do think, though, with this new NIL thing, I think it might change the dynamic of like seeing usually the same 4 teams every year in the playoffs. Oh, yes. Like, hopefully. Obviously, Ohio State is a big one that's usually always there. Obviously, Bama, Georgia, Clemson is one that's usually always been there.
Yeah.
Obviously, this last season, it was a little different. It was Bama, Georgia, Cincinnati, and Michigan.
Cincinnati hopefully will be back. They were a joke.
Little bit different. Yeah, that was a stupid pick if you ask me. But
terrible
I do
pick.
think that'll get some new teams, hopefully, in the college football
and
playoffs.
And hopefully they expand. They're talking about expanding.
I was going to say, and if you ask me, I say make it more than 4 teams.
Yes.
That's absolutely stupid.
Well, they're just going to lose.
Only 4 teams.
They're just going to lose ratings. Nobody wants to see Bama and Georgia go at it every year. So
because
if you can't
when those
put more
4
teams
get there, you already know who's going to win it all.
Well, because they always feel like they have to put a Cinderella story in there, which that never works out. And they always play Bama first game.
Yeah, like every couple years they'll like throw in Notre Dame or something
and then,
for no
this
reason.
Year, they conveniently didn't put Georgia and Bama 2 and 3.
So that they could
meet
play
in the
again,
championship.
Because they had already played that
but
season.
Michigan,
and Bama
I'm not going to go in this.
won.
Michigan should have been number 1. Bama should have been number 2. Georgia number 3. Cincy 4. So it should have been a Michigan-Cincinnati matchup the first round, and then Alabama-Georgia in the first round, based on the standings.
But they weren't going to do that because
and Alabama jumped Michigan.
It would be better ratings if the championship was
an SEC championship,
Alabama-Georgia.
Yeah. So they need to. First of all, I think that it needs to be decided by something other than a committee. Like it needs to be decided by stats, numbers, wins, losses, records, and stuff like that. And then I think it needs to be expanded to 8, maybe 12 teams. I would not be opposed to 16 teams, but that's probably too much for them.
It would just make it more interesting.
It would make it so much more interesting.
You would definitely make more money.
Yes, everybody would be
as
into
an organization.
It. Yes.
You would for sure make more
money.
And
the NCAA would make more money.
I don't know why you'd be like, I don't know what the holdup is on that exactly, but like we said, I mean, you're going to make so much more money because everyone's been begging for a bigger playoff picture every year because 4 teams is just boring.
Yes, it's super boring, but I think Bama's time is coming to an end. Hopefully, it's looking like A&M, Jimbo's got A&M going in the right direction. Obviously, last year all we needed was a quarterback, and this year we've got 3. And so A&M's on the rise. Look forward to the Bama A&M game. I don't know how good it'll be this year, but in next year when the recruits are a little bit better.
Because obviously all these kids are going to be freshmen.
Yes.
So
and we're in Tuscaloosa
might not play as much, and obviously it's their first year of college football, so they're not going to be as good. But I think a couple years down the line, maybe 2, maybe 3 or so, we're going to be an absolute force to deal with at Texas A&M.
And Alabama will keep losing recruits, hopefully. And everything will go according to plan. But this Jimbo Saban beef sparked some excitement for college football season. Definitely for the A&M Bama game. Obviously, Jimbo just completely buried Nick Saban.
Absolutely.
In his comments. So, attaboy Jimbo. Don't mess with Texas schools or anything like that. Alabama, we'd crush all at everything.
1,000% agree.
And, yeah, don't ever try that again. Just don't mess with Texas. But,
yeah, next time you want to come attack us, Nick Saban, you best be careful.
yeah, don't attack us after you lost to us. Like, maybe if you had beaten us.
Because then you have, he has no validity whatsoever.
Yeah,
because
we beat you.
He's not the top recruiting class, and they lost to us last year.
And they lost in the national championship. It's not like they got the last laugh.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't really know why he thinks he can talk about us.
Yeah,
like
right
that,
now A&M's riding that high. But that's enough about that. We're gonna briefly mention, because we don't want to talk about it, the Mavericks, the Dallas Mavericks. They're down right now. We're recording this on Tuesday afternoon. They're down 3-0. They're playing tonight. I don't know if they're gonna get swept or not. If they do, when you're listening to this tomorrow, or even if they don't,
I
they're
think
still
what we're
probably
saying
going to lose
is the series is over.
The series is over.
It's just a matter of, are we going to win a game or not? So I already counted us out. But props to Jason Kidd.
I
say
first year as a head coach.
Sign him for the next 35 years if we can.
Lifetime contract.
Honestly. Because he took a mid-tier team and took them to the Western Conference Finals.
I had never heard of anyone other than Luka Doncic on our team before the playoffs. Never. I didn't know who they were.
It just
took a bunch of no names.
Just this little. When we were watching the game on Sunday night, they threw out this dumb stat because Luka passed Dirk for most 40-point playoff games in franchise history. He has 8. Dirk has 7. And what they were talking about is when Luka gets a 40-point game, they were 2-6 in the playoffs. So of his 8 40-point playoff games, they're 2-6. And then Dirk was 6-1 with his 7, because that just shows that like when Dirk scored 40, that meant it was on lock because he had a number 2 guy and a number 3 guy.
We had a good team.
Yeah, he had people that he could rely on.
NBA
other
was
than
different
just himself.
back then too.
Oh, absolutely.
You only needed a couple. You didn't need 4. Playing the Warriors, you need like 2 to 3 really good shooters who are always reliable.
Because they live or die by the 3, even more so than we do, because all their guys are just sharpshooters.
But if one guy's doing bad, they have 3 more to back him up.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
It's tough playing Golden State, but props to Jason Kidd. Props to Luka. He's done great this playoffs. Our future is very bright. We just need a strong number 2 and maybe a number 3 if we don't keep Jalen.
Get him some help, man.
So we'll be fine in the future, I think. But great run, guys. And
Jason Kidd had his head
be the first team
in the right
to
direction.
overcome a 3-0 deficit. Just for me.
146-0. Let's make that 146-1.
Exactly.
For those 3-0 teams out there.
But let's go Mavs. Great season.
Please win a game.
Win one
Actually,
at least.
I say win a game. That means win tonight, so we don't get swept. We know the series is over, but nevertheless, we're losing. Okay. Here's we like to end our shows. In light of Jimbo Fisher, we brought you a quote from Jimbo Fisher.
Ooh.
He said, "If you want to win, you can't be scared to lose," and that's facts.
That is facts.
That is the spoken truth.
And guess who's not scared
from
to
a true
lose?
man.
Jimbo Fisher.
Exactly.
Don't mess with Texas. Don't mess with Jimbo. Mm-hmm. Thank y'all for tuning in this week.
In the 701, we will see you next week.
We'll see you next week on Under Review.